Well, we must understand what our national interests are. Small country, we depend on international rule of law. We depend on an open, rules-based multilateral system with international bodies to help make it work, like the UN, like the WTO, like the World Bank, like the IMF. And we also depend on being friends to all countries, wherever we can. It won't be so easy because you can see that US-China relations are deteriorating. We don't want to be forced to take sides, but it is going to become harder to be friends of both the way things are going. There will be time when we have national interests at stake, important ones. And then we will have to stand firm, even if this causes some impact on our relations with other countries. But in that case, especially, I think it's very important for us to be seen to be acting on principles, acting on our own behalf, and not acting as a proxy for anybody else. So an independent foreign policy standing up for Singapore. We will also make common cause with like-minded partners to make our voices heard. Partners in ASEAN, other small countries around the world, particularly those who have open outlooks on trade and on multilateralism. So at the UN, we have groups like the Global Governance Group, the Forum of Small States. We are taken quite seriously internationally. Because why? Firstly, Singapore is a success story. There is something to talk about. Otherwise, you may have the most eloquent speeches in the UN, nobody will pay attention to you. Secondly, because we have capable ministers and diplomats, so we are able to engage on an equal level with their counterparts from much bigger and more powerful countries. And when there's an international meeting, we're able to make a contribution. We help to foster a consensus. We help to broker a deal. And therefore, people find us useful, whether it's at the WTO meetings, whether it's at the climate change meetings, whether it's at RCEP. And we are welcome to participate and listen to. Thirdly, because Singaporeans are united and the government has strong support, when the ministers speak, they speak with confidence and with weight. And therefore, people have to listen, and we don't open ourselves up to being manipulated or being split. And we must keep these strengths in order to make ourselves relevant and heard and secure our position in the world. Finally, of course, apart from diplomacy, there's the SAF. In the last resort, be prepared to defend ourselves, make sure that our security is maintained, nobody takes advantage of us.
Well, I think the best way to do that is to take a look inside first, in Singapore. And I think we really need to strengthen the social safety nets for people who fall between the cracks, or the low income, and those who need help and assistance. Singapore will be an open nation. Let's face some realities here. We have to be friendly to trade, open trade. But it is precisely because of that reason that we need to double down on what our people face in Singapore. Those who can enter the slipstream of globalization, it's smooth. But there are some who will suffer turbulence, and what we need to do is to make sure that those who are in turbulence are lifted up. And that's the point about stronger social safety nets, and that also defines a lot of the proposals that the Workers' Party have made in our manifesto.
I think for Singapore to have a place in the world, we've got to keep it very open. In other words, we welcome all people who can make contribution to Singapore. I have many a times been accused of against foreign talent, but that is not true. Anyone who wants to come and come to Singapore and help us to grow are always welcome. And my line has always been that. But of course, we also have to be very careful because we have to think of our Singaporeans first, especially with regards to jobs. Where the job that is, the Singaporeans can take on those jobs, I think we have to give them priority first. But the foreigners are always welcome. And if they are really they come here and bring very good expertise. I would also like them to share with Singaporeans. Sharing in the sense that maybe after about 5 years or so here, they should be able to impart their knowledge to our locals and train our locals. I think in that way, we will have a better understanding of each other. That you come here because you feel this place is good for you to do business, you're welcome. But there's always a give and take. Look, our people here also need your expertise. So let's work together. And if those people who are really very good and want to take up citizenship or are permanent residents, I think we should also welcome them. If really want to make Singapore their home, I don't want to be in the way of saying, oh, because you're a foreigner, we don't want you. No. We want people, anyone who can make substantial contribution to this country, they're always welcome.
Well, the one thing that we really need to do is not continue in this fashion where all we're concerned about is just GDP growth at all costs. That's not going to cut it going forward. What we need to do is to open up society and be a more inclusive society. And I mean a genuinely more inclusive society, not just in word, not just in rhetoric. And by that I mean to bring in people from all walks of life and to get our economy to a certain to a stage whereby it depends on the people, the SMEs to drive it, not on the GLCs. And so if this is going to be the path that we're going to take forward, then we can truly then begin to claim that we have come of age and find our place in the international community. If we're going to continue in this fashion, whereby the government is just going to get richer and richer, and whereby we have an underclass, a permanent underclass, then all we can say is that we've become a rich nation, but never a great one, never a caring one. And it is these qualities of a country that will propel us into the future. We also need to democratize. If you look at the situation as this COVID pandemic has shown, we have gained some notoriety in terms of the way we've handled the outbreak here, especially with the way we've treated foreign workers. And if we aspire to be a nation that is going to claim its place in the global community, then we must be able to take care of all the people in this country, citizens and foreigners, and begin to provide people with the security, people with a say in how we want to see our nation, our society go forward, and not continue with this autocratic system where the PAP says one thing and everybody else has to jump to the feet and carry it out. That's not the way to go going forward, and we want to see some changes in this regard.